Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
Hey, Dr. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you, Carl?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, this actually was the result of a question. Hold on, let me get the question up here because I've got too many computers nowadays, Dr. Jeff. This came from Dana. She says, Dr. Jeff, I heard your interview about what to do for contest prep. Can you go into more detail on how to get rid of water for a show and more about sodium use, etc.? And obviously, this is a big deal not only for athletes, but this is a big deal for just average people. You know, you hear so many people, especially women, say, oh, you know, I'm holding water. I've got to go to a wedding Wednesday night. What do I do? So this has more than just athletic applications, doesn't it?
It does. And, you know, after we did the interview a few weeks ago about kind of that contest prep, I think a lot of people, they heard it, but a lot of people get confused, you know, when you start talking about, you know, water retention. That's kind of a tricky and confusing subject, you know, so I thought this was a great question by Dana, and it would be good to kind of clarify and talk a little bit more about this whole phenomena.
Okay, so let's where do you hit it from first?
Well, you know, I gotta always take a step back because I see too many people, you know, trying to control their sodium intake all the time. And I think that's where the big problem arises. You know, sodium is a very important electrolyte. So by trying to rid your diet of sodium, you actually are putting your system in an imbalance, which will actually cause your body to retain sodium. When you retain sodium, you retain more water. So I think that's one of the biggest problems I see. And, you know, the medical industry is always telling us we're eating too much salt. So people take that, especially athletes, and go, oh, okay, well, I've got to go zero sodium.
Well, can we dwell on this just for a second? Because I want to make sure that we make a very important point here that you've already brought forth. We now know that those individuals who are told to cut back on sodium because of their blood pressure, they find out that when they incorporate sodium back into their diet, their blood pressure actually goes down. And I've talked about several different instances of this where someone who's been on high blood pressure medicine for years, and the doctor keeps raising the dose and going, you know, are you cutting out sodium? Yeah, I don't eat anything with sodium anymore, doc. And next thing you know, when they finally start adding sodium back into the diet, they have to cut back on the blood pressure meds. What you just said is so important from a health standpoint. Getting sodium in your diet is so critical, especially if you're an athlete and you sweat, because you sweat out like 5 times more sodium than any other electrolyte in your sweat. Think about that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then, you know, again, you know, I think when the medical profession is telling us that our sodium count is too high, you know, there are some individuals that all they're eating is, you know, processed food,
yes.
salt, you know, everything is salted. That's where, you know, you could get into an overabundance of sodium, because again, if you get too much sodium, you're going to push the potassium out. So it's all about, you know, being in balance.
So would you say that the first step in understanding how not to get bloated is maybe be more moderate about sodium, not necessarily exclude it all, but don't also go overboard, find a middle ground?
I would, and use, you know, I enjoy salt. It enhances the flavor, but use sea salt, you know, something that's a little more easier on the system. It's got much better taste. You also get all those trace minerals, you know, your iodized salts and your processed salts. Those are the ones that cause, you know, a little more problem. But again, moderation. You know, there's nothing wrong with using salt as a seasoning. You know, for the most part, your body should get rid of that within a day or two. Yes, sometimes people who take in an abundance of salt, you know, soy sauce, Chinese food, you know, the next day they may feel bloated. But typically when they say bloated, they're talking about their stomach being bloated.
Gut, you're right.
And that is not water.
Right.
That's a whole nother story that we've been talking about, just, proper gut health.
Right.
Bloated water retention would be, if you were to take your sock off and you've got that ring, you can see you're puffy, or your fingers, they're just swollen, or your face is puffy. That's more of an indication of water retention than just a bloated stomach.
Now, what about potassium? Because potassium and sodium work so closely together, and I suspect that most people don't get enough potassium in their diet because they're afraid of things like eating enough, let's say, potatoes or yams, because they're on some sort of diet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're not eating, bananas, potatoes, yams, a variety of greens because of some type of diet or the other, you're going to get deficient in potassium. And there's a very fine line between that sodium and potassium balance. So as you are incorporating sodium into your diet, you would also need to incorporate a potassium supplement into your diet to keep that balance. Because if you have an excess of one, it will literally push the other out, but then it will go in the reverse, and it will start to retain that particular mineral, because, again, our body needs these electrolyte minerals. Without it, essentially we could die. I mean, it just throws our whole body into a big whack.
Would you also agree with this statement? It takes some time for the body to respond to some of these dietary changes. And what I mean by that is that throwing the body into a position where now it's going to start sparing potassium, sparing sodium, so you're not urinating it out in response to your diet's changing in not having enough of these in it. That could take days. So when people finally correct it, they shouldn't expect to see the water flush out in just a day. It could take days again for you to see the water come out, right?
Oh, absolutely. 48, 72 hours. I mean, it's a little bit of a process. Nothing happens right today. Same way if you go on a diet today, you're not going to lose, 10 pounds by the end of the day. It's just a process, But that's kind of the first start, when you're looking at, controlling. The second thing is you got to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Mm-hmm. Again, I think this is a problem for most people. Is
counterintuitive.
Their water consumption comes from, diet sodas and coffee. I mean, they don't drink any water. Everything has got something else in it, which actually causes dehydration.
But don't you think women, this is counterintuitive to women. So if a woman feels like has water bloat, her ankles are swollen, she's got the signature puffiness associated with subcutaneous water, what she will do is take diuretics and not drink water. But this is exactly the opposite of what you should do, right?
Oh, absolutely. You should be drinking water because, whatever is causing you to hold that water, is some type of imbalance. So water is the first thing that you want to get. Over 60% of your body is made up of water. I mean, it's important for every function of every organ, right down to keeping your lips and your nose, moist. So without it, again, your body doesn't function well. You will hold water if you don't drink water. It's kind of a crazy thing.
Well, no, but think about it from an evolutionary perspective. If you go for long periods of time without water, the body has to protect itself. So it starts to embargo water into the body. It says, no, I can't let you urinate this out because we don't know the next time you're going to have water, and we need water to function. So
absolutely.
It makes perfect sense.
And it does. And, what Dana's alluding to is more from that subcutaneous water. And that's what we want to be able to separate from, the water that appears between the skin and the muscle, not the water in the muscle or under the muscle. That is what is important. We want to get rid of that puffy, that water that's subcutaneously.
So how much water should a person drink? And do this two different ways. You've got the athlete that's prepping for a competition. Give the water schedule that you gave the last show, and then let's talk about regular people and water consumption.
Sure. So, getting ready for a show, as Dana's asking to get rid of water retention, you got to start back out a few days. So, when you get about that Monday before a Saturday show, this is when you are going to start depleting your carbohydrates because, again, carbohydrates hold water. So you start to deplete your carbohydrates for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. literally you're going to lower them to, 50 or less. I always recommend eating like a green apple or something just to keep your glycogen levels up. But during that point in time, you're going to continue to use sodium. Because again, we want our body to be normal. We're just going to now lower our carbohydrates so we deplete that glycogen. We aren't going to start worrying about getting rid of that sodium until Wednesday night. And this is where you said, it takes several days to get to where we want to be on Saturday. That's why we have to start Wednesday night. So Wednesday night, we initiate what's called the sodium pump. As we just said, if we elevate potassium, we will force our body subcutaneously to get rid of that excess water. Now, this only works for a short window of time. So this isn't something you can just take potassium in high amounts all the time. So we introduce that potassium. Then Thursday morning, now this is when we cut our sodium out. So we are going to go sodium free for Thursday, Friday for a Saturday show. And at that point, we also start to minimize our water, where whatever comes out, we're going to drink back 50%. Now, again, folks, this is for a competing bodybuilder, bikini athlete. This isn't for us to do on a normal basis. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on here.
Yeah, when we come back from, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take our break now. And when we come back, whoa, sorry about that. Too many buttons. We're going to take our break now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, let's continue on this path for the competitor just for a second longer. And then let's talk about average people and water consumption. Because I think the competitors are drinking upwards of a gallon of water a day when they're drinking water, and then they're cutting it back. But I want to address regular people and their water consumption. My co-host today is Dr. Jeff Galini. We're talking about how to get rid of the water bloat. Women are going to love this show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. How to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's getkarbolin.com/CARBGUIDE. The health and performance benefits of phytonutrients are indisputable, but getting all of your phytonutrients from your diet is difficult. That's why Prime Nutrition introduced PhytoForm. PhytoForm has nearly 11 grams of all the micronized veggies, fruits, fiber, minerals, and antioxidants you need. Alfalfa, organic spirulina, and chlorella, plus acai, pomegranate, goji, bilberry, blueberry, raspberry, cranberry, and papaya. Cabbage, spinach, broccoli, beet, the list goes on and on. You won't find a better, more complete fruits and greens blend anywhere. It even includes PQQ, which has been shown to improve mitochondrial biogenesis. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Prime Nutrition banner ad today and use coupon code SHR to save 30% off. Prime Nutrition, the best or nothing.
Eat dessert again with the new 100% natural line of high-protein, low-carb Quest protein bars. I love lemon cream pie and strawberry cheesecake, but you can choose from chocolate peanut butter, coconut cashew, or cinnamon roll as well. No matter which one you try, you'll feel like you're eating dessert. But this is no ordinary dessert. With 20 grams of high-quality whey protein isolate, 17 grams of prebiotic fiber, and sweetened with stevia, these bars will make you feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Quest Protein Bar banner ad to learn more about these clean and delicious protein bars.
Hey, this is Carl. Start your day just like I do with a high-dose lipospheric vitamin C from Live On Labs. You too can benefit from Live On Labs' lipospheric delivery system. No more pills or powders. That's outdated technology. Live On Labs has the world's most efficient vitamin delivery system, period. Learn a lot more today at liveonlabs.com and benefit from their new reduced pricing. That's liveonlabs.com, Livon labs.com.
Ever feel like you want something crunchy? From the company that gave us the Quest protein bar, now comes the Quest high protein potato chips with 21 grams of high quality protein and only 5 grams of carbs and no artificial ingredients. Just like Quest bars, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Quest High Protein Potato Chip banner ad today and get ready to be satisfied. Thanks to Quest Nutrition, chips just aren't what they used to be.
In today's day and age, it's refreshing to find a company with values that match yours. And it's even more extraordinary when the products they make exceed your expectation in every way. That's what Michael's Naturopathic Programs has done for over 30 years. With more than 50 tried and truthful high-potency formulas, Michael's Naturopathic Programs give your body what it needs. No more guessing what herb or vitamin, amino acid, or mineral you need. With Michael's, it's all in one bottle. From cardiovascular support to weight management to nervous system support to detox and cleansing and more. Michael's Naturopathic Programs work. They have to. Michael himself has been giving it to his own family from the very start. You can find Michael's product at your local health food store or go to michaelshealth.com and get your tried and truthful formulation. That's michaelshealth.com.
Not all so-called deodorants are the same. Only Goodness Inside deodorant is a multi-benefit deodorant that's not only free of aluminum and toxins, but provides the body with nutrients it needs, like magnesium, pure dead sea salts, minerals, and vitamins.
I am a big fan of Only Goodness Inside, the MGDO Healthy Deodorant. I'm a businesswoman. I have to dress up at work. It goes on smooth, it dries quickly, and it never gets on my clothes.
Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Only Goodness Inside banner ad to save 25% off your order today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back to Science for Humans with my co-host, Dr. Jeff Galini. We're talking about how to get rid of the water bloat. And this is for guys, too, athletes in general, but also women suffer from this a lot, you know, especially because menstrual cycles cause water retention and so on and so forth. And even if you're not a female athlete, we're talking about. So one thing I wanted to clarify, in case there's questions about this, Dr. Jeff, if you're cutting back on your carbs, you're not eating your potatoes, you're not eating your yams. So you have to use a supplement for potassium, correct?
Well, the potassium is more of the sodium pump, pushing out that excess sodium at the end. You know, the last week of a bodybuilding contest isn't the most healthiest, Carl.
Right, right.
It just isn't. I mean, you know, you look healthy, but, you know, that's why you only do it for a few days. And that's why I want to say this is not what we do every day. You know, going that low carb, you are putting your body in a deficit of, you know, vitamins and minerals, because typically you are also cutting out most of your supplements, if not all of them, that week.
Okay, so with that being said, if you're an athlete, you're going to use 1 or 2 99 milligram potassium gluconate tablets with every meal, with 3 meals a day, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that should give you the adequate ratios of potassium to sodium to facilitate the pump. Let's talk about regular people for a second. The average person doesn't want to get into the state of retaining water. It sounds to me from what you just described, if that person doesn't want to retain water in the first place, number one, drinking enough water every day. What would you say, at least a half a gallon of water a day for the average person?
You know, my rule of thumb is the 8x8, 8-ounce glasses a day. You know, again, they don't space it out. You know, a lot of people drink a lot here and then they won't drink until afternoon. You know, it's better to take in water all throughout the day. You know, this will keep you excreting. You know, this is how you flush out all your toxins. You flush that sodium. And a lot of times, you know, water retention could be from more than just sodium. You know, it could be from some toxic, chemical or pesticide that you just got done ingesting.
That's true. The next thing is the sodium-potassium ratios. People need to pay more attention to potassium intake, because I think many of us are getting sodium. If you're eating an ancestral diet, if you're eating red meats, if you're eating eggs, you're getting sodium in your diet. You may not be getting potassium in your diet if you're not eating the right vegetables, mainly tubers, root-type vegetables. So I think people need to start, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that aside from watching how much sodium you're getting in, make sure you're getting more than enough potassium in the body.
Correct. And, you know, if you don't eat a banana a day, so to say, and you are getting those root-type vegetables, 99 milligrams in the morning, is really all you need daily to help increase your potassium. Now, remember, this isn't a diuretic. You don't take a potassium pill and you're just going to start peeing. This is over a course of a couple, 2-3 days, getting that balance back in play. Therefore, if you do have, a high sodium meal, you're going to have enough potassium that will push out that extra sodium. But again, just drink more water with that meal also.
And then lastly, pay attention to things that have a diuretic effect. If you drink a lot of coffee and caffeine, whether it's coffee, tea, you take pre-workout supplements, if you are a big alcohol drinker, these things tend to dysregulate the way the body manages its water. You are going to most likely end up holding water regardless of what you do. With some of the things that Dr. Jeff just talked about. So if you really don't want to hold water, you need to cut back on your caffeine and your alcohol consumption. And if it's really important, you cut them out entirely. What do you think about that statement, Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are diuretics, and use sea salt. Don't not use it. Remember, if your body thinks it has enough salt, it's going to want to get rid of that excess salt. So sometimes that's another good way to get rid of some water retention is, add some salt to your salad or your food.
The rule of abundance. If the body thinks it has adequate amounts of things, then it doesn't store it.
Correct.
This happens with electrolytes as well. What do you think about just taking a good electrolyte supplement as well? Because we didn't talk about magnesium, we didn't talk about calcium, we didn't talk about chloride, we didn't talk about a lot of these other important electrolytes that also play a role with sodium and potassium. Do you think some sort of a mineral supplement that's a multi-mineral supplement is called for, Dr. Jeff?
I think so. Again, if you're eating adequate amounts of, your fruits and vegetables and a nice array of meats, and we're not talking about processed type foods, you should get enough of those electrolytes. But if you are active and you're an athlete, absolutely. Those electrolytes all need to be within balance. You elevate one, you're going to be deficient probably in something else. And as you said early, if you're sweating, you're exercising, those electrolytes are coming out. Now, let me just go on record and say that, be careful what you're using. Things like Gatorade are not an electrolyte drink.
Mm-hmm.
They have a couple in there, but they're sugar. I would say go and find from your health food store a nice multi-mineral so that you not only get the electrolytes, but you get some of the other minerals. I kind of like some of them that contain these trace minerals and things also,
Copper and other minerals that we just ignore.
We do, you can get from organic foods and what have you. But again, as soon as you cook them, you end up washing most of those out. Very fine balance between, what we eat and what we need. So, always good to keep those minerals up.
We have lots of Science for Humans episodes coming up that are suggested by listeners, just like this one today and the one last week. If you have a question for Dr. Jeff, go to superhumanradio.com. Look on the bottom right-hand side for a banner ad with Dr. Jeff's picture on it. Click it and submit a question to Dr. Jeff, and perhaps your question will be the topic of an upcoming show. Also, you can reach Dr. Jeff by searching on Facebook for Jeff Golini, Golini, and friending him that way as well. Right, Dr. Jeff?
Absolutely, and you can find my Dr. Jeff Golini page. I think for those of you Facebook people, lots of fun things I'm putting on there. I have the tip of the week. I'm showing you the actual factory, how things are being made. So I think if you follow me on Facebook and like that page, I think you'll enjoy it.
Thanks for being on the air today, Dr. Jeff.
Thank you, and take care.